Have you ever wondered why, even decades after his passing, Osho's name still echoes like a storm in spiritual circles? Why his teachings still provoke curiosity, confusion, admiration, and controversy all at once? And why millions of people around the world continue to search for the truth about his message? Was he a mystic, a rebel, a revolutionary thinker, or a misunderstood guru? Today, in this deep dive exploration, we pull back every layer surrounding the truth of Osho's teachings. Not the rumors, not the dramatic headlines, but the real essence he spoke of. The inner freedom, the psychological awakening, the courage to question everything, and the art of living consciously in a world that constantly pulls us into unconscious patterns. Because Osho, unlike traditional spiritual teachers, did not ask anyone to believe him blindly. Instead, he challenged his listeners to doubt, to inquire, to explore their own nature, and to observe their inner world with total awareness. And this is where the core truth of his teachings begins: awareness as a medicine, meditation as a revolution, and self-understanding as the first step toward transformation. When he spoke about meditation, he didn't describe it as a rigid posture or ancient ritual, but as a living, breathing act of witnessing, a process where you learn to see your thoughts without being controlled by them, where you cultivate silence not by force, but by understanding how noise arises within you. And he introduced dynamic meditation because he believed modern humanity is too restless to sit still at first. We carry too much tension, too much emotional baggage, too much suppressed energy. So movement, breath, catharsis, and expression prepare the ground for real stillness. And once stillness comes, even for a moment, Osho says it opens a doorway to something eternal within you. The truth about his teachings is that they are not about renouncing the world, but about celebrating it with awareness, turning ordinary life into a spiritual experience, whether you're working, loving, eating, dancing, or doing absolutely nothing. Osho taught that life itself is the greatest temple, and consciousness is the only prayer you ever need. He often said that truth is not something he can hand to you, because truth can't be borrowed. It must be lived, tasted, experienced directly. And this radical emphasis on personal experience instead of belief is what made him different from most spiritual figures. But this very attitude also made him dangerous in the eyes of traditionalists, politicians, and religious institutions, because a person who thinks clearly and independently can no longer be controlled, manipulated, or frightened. And Osho openly criticized systems of power for using fear, guilt, and blind obedience to keep masses asleep. The truth is, Osho didn't want followers. He wanted seekers. He didn't want people to worship him. He wanted people to wake up. He asked people to drop their conditioning, drop their borrowed identities, and meet themselves honestly, even if the truth is uncomfortable. He believed that each person is born with a unique potential, and society tries to shape everyone into the same mold, creating misery and inner conflict. According to Osho, real spirituality is rebellion. It is choosing authenticity over imitation, courage over comfort, freedom over security, and awareness over mechanical living. Osho's teachings about love also cut deep. He said love should not be a prison but a freedom, not a bargain but a gift, not a relationship full of expectations, but a connection rooted in joy and presence. He often warned that society teaches people to demand love rather than to become loving, and that is why relationships become battles instead of dances. Real love, in his vision, can only blossom when you are whole within yourself. Only then can you share without clinging or controlling. And then comes one of the most misunderstood aspects of Osho's teachings: his openness about sexuality. For Osho, sexuality was not sin, but energy, and energy could evolve into creativity, compassion, and spiritual growth if understood consciously. He refused to shame it, unlike most religious traditions, because he believed repressed energy creates psychological harm and hypocrisy. His message was not indulgence, but awareness. See your desires, understand them, and you will transform naturally. And transformation, for Osho, was not about becoming someone else. It was about discovering the pure being you already are beneath layers of conditioning. He taught that enlightenment is not in the future, not in heaven, not after death, but within you right now, like a flame waiting to be uncovered. So what is the real truth behind Osho's teachings? The truth is that he gave people tools to reclaim their inner world. Meditation, awareness, celebration, clarity, rebellion, and love. And these tools threaten the foundations of any society based on control. And yes, controversies surrounded him. Political conflicts, media dramatization, misconceptions, and the clash between his vision and the conservative world around him. But controversies do not define his teachings. The real question is, what remains when you strip away the noise? What remains is a man who said, "Be yourself and trust your experience." What remains is a message of freedom so profound that even today it inspires millions to meditate, to question, to grow, and to live more consciously. Osho taught that the world is not something to escape, but something to transform from within by transforming yourself. And this is why, even now, people from every corner of the world search for the truth about his teachings, because deep down, every human being longs for freedom, peace, joy, and meaning, and Osho spoke directly to that longing. Whether you agree with him or not, his words challenge you, shake you, and make you look inside. And that is the true power of his message. The truth about Osho's teachings is simple, yet revolutionary. Wake up, observe, celebrate, love, and live with full awareness, because a conscious life is the only true life, and everything else is just existence. If you are ready to drop fear, ready to drop borrowed beliefs, ready to look within, then Osho's teachings are not instructions, but invitations. An invitation to meet your own soul, to live your own truth, and to become the most alive version of yourself. And maybe that is why the world still talks about him. Not because he wanted followers, but because he woke followers into seekers, and seekers into individuals. The truth is that Osho left behind not a religion, but a mirror. And anyone who dares to look into that mirror with honesty can discover not Osho's truth, but their own.